Welcome, dear brothers and sisters, dear friends in the Sabbath School Department by the General Conference. We would like to present to you a very interesting Sabbath School lesson this time, the liberty of conscience, which is a continuation of the big series of lessons related to the events in the last days. We have this lesson for Sabbath, March 1st, 2014. It's the first Sabbath of the month. And we have with us our dear sister Raquel. Welcome, Raquel. We will begin as usual with a silent prayer. Amen. The lesson is very interesting and full of information, and we will be for sure in danger to overpass the time which is limited for these activities. The structure of the lesson, here we would like to see the text. We have a nice testimony, the introductory text. All that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution, already tells us what is the content of the lesson and make an incredible summary, and that's what we are going to study. The first undertitle is Babylon's guilt, and we're going to see why is Babylon really guilty and what is the guilt of Babylon. We need to be very careful, especially having our visitors in our churches, not to relate so much the Babylon to the people, members in these churches. We know that God have His people, the faithful ones that are still in these fallen churches. We're talking about organizations, we're talking about their teachings and leadership, but the membership of all these churches can be honest members, and they can live according to their knowledge, and they can be saved one day when they receive the call to leave that place, and they will join the people of God in the last time. Continuing the second undertitle, the main point of discussion, we're going to see that confrontation is raising up, as we have already discussed that in the previous lesson, how the things comes very how this discussion become very serious, because from one side the people of God presenting the three angels message, and from the other side the fallen churches presenting changing of the law. And that is what is going to be explained a little more in detail under this undertitle. Then we have the fully aware of their actions, and this is related more to the image of the beast, which is the fallen Protestant churches. And then overcome inactivity, and that is now very interesting. This undertitle is turning our eyes no longer to the other churches, but turning the eyes to us. What are we doing in our time? And do we fulfill really the prophecies related to our church in this serious and difficult time? I think that should be the central point of our lesson today, because the beast we have already discussed in the previous three lessons, and there is no more information about the character or the work of the beast. The only difference is that here in this lesson we have a little more detailed explanation how this the procedure of persecution will take place and what is the apostasy of these churches. But the new point in this lesson is really the place of the Church of God in this whole event of the last days. And I think that is very beneficial if we spend a little more time here in the questions number 5 actually, under our responsibility. Then we have the Sunday law will soon be enforced. This is something that have been already mentioned in the previous lesson. We can just review it and have a little more details in that. And then come the supporting argument. Also, what will be the reason that the Sunday law comes out? And then we have the question number 7 and 8 reminding us the situation of the Queen Esther and the persecution of the Jewish people in the old time. Actually, this is only one parallel. We have many, many parallels in the history, how the people of God have been persecuted, how our church was persecuted, the First, the Second World War, and also in different countries around the world, and very possible even in your own churches, in your own countries, you have suffered persecution and past time. So that's why it's very important that we turn the lesson also in certain points more actual, more related to the present time. Well, with the help of the Lord, now we would like to go point by point and see what is the lesson about. Very important questions already in the beginning. The question number one, it's a very rich question that have three quotations of the Bible or Revelation, and all three quotations can be interpreted and can be a foundation of a big discussion, but we would like to shorten as much as possible the information related to the first question so that we have more time, as I mentioned already, especially to question number 5. But we have Sister Raquel with us, and we would like to hear her comments. Sister Raquel is the leader of the social ministry, which means she have the canvassing department and the family department under her responsibility. A new servant, Tsvetan Petkov, if somebody don't know my name, I am in the moment the director of the ministerial department, and we're preparing with God's help these lessons. Brother DiFranca is very much involved with the revision, editing and preparation of that lesson, and all the 7 members of our committee are participating as well. May the Lord bless you and enjoy this lesson. Let's go to the first question. What are the grave faults for which Babylon is responsible to God? Does only one church have this problem, or are there many such organizations? What would you say, Raquel, about this? Welcome.
Thank you. We have here 3 main Bible texts that are all of them connected, not only in the development of the church history, but also very close connected with our present time. First of all, let us consider what is Babylon. We know that we understand the concept since the name Babel as the Tower of Babel, that means confusion, even if originally the etymological concept mean the gates of heaven, become this concept a completely negative aspect because of the confusion of the languages. So the first that we need to understand is that this concept is related with confusion, exactly related with doctrinal matters, have to do with religious powers, with religious institutions, but that at the same time these religious institutions are close connected with civil powers, at the same time that we have studied in the 2 past and 3 past lessons. So we see here that the announcement of the second angel message in Revelation 14:8 speak and repeated twice that Babylon is fallen. But according to Revelation 17, we know that Babylon as the main harlot was long ago fallen. That also represent the apostate Christianity and in the institution of the Catholic Church. But those that are added to this falling, and they are part of this same confusion according to the doctrine, is also the Protestantism. So these 2 elements that have to do with institutions that preach and instruct people in religious matter and also in moral values are under the concept, according to the biblical description, of confusion, but even more than that, because at the same time says that is a drink, and this drink is of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So we see that the term wine or drink have to do with a liquid. And we know that it's very easy to be spread a liquid. If fall from us water of a glass, very quickly all over we have this water spread. So the symbol of a liquid, and at the same time wine that is very implicit, that is fermented and produce even more confusion mentally, because change the personality and even the behavior of persons. We see here that the doctrine that these both religious institutions represent are confused, are wrong, are perverting the truth, are fermented. This means this also perverted the person and the understanding of reality. So it's not only one institution, but all religious institutions that are part or entirely in agreement with the main wrong doctrines that are against biblical principles.
Thank you very much. I think that the Bible verses itself are giving us also some concrete information I want to mention. For example, here, if we consider this first Bible verse in Revelation 14:8, it says that because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Fornication in the New Testament is porneia, and the word porneia in Greek, and it is not related only to a sexual transgressions or sin, but fornication is related also to a spiritual fornication, and in this case spiritual fornication is what we are talking about. And spiritual fornication is related to having other gods, and we have studied in the previous lesson that, for example, the Pope have this vicarius filii Dei name, which means he is like a vicarius of God, or in place of God on earth, which is worshipping a person, worshipping a man as a god. Now we know that not only that, but there are idols that are worshipped in different churches, like the Orthodox or Catholic or some other religious organizations. So instead of worship the true God, the true God is replaced with images and sculptures and pictures which are kissed and hugged and worshipped, and sacrifices are given to them. And this is the word fornication. But when we go to Revelation 17, we see that even more guilt have the Catholic Church, or this fallen Babylon, and all the organizations that copied it. And I will show you, says, into thee the judgment and the great wrath which sitteth upon the many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk. So not only the governments, but all the inhabitants, as Raquel just mentioned, it is like the liquid that spreads all over. Drops are falling all over, and even the inhabitants of all these kingdoms are drunk. And this wine is actually, we have studied also in the previous lessons, have to do with changing the law of God. Instead of the Sabbath day, we have here a Sunday, and everybody who kept that Sunday, which is not the law of God, which is the opposite, which is the sign of or the mark of the beast, actually they are drinking of this wine. But not only that, in Revelation 18 we have even more details about these fornications, because says Babylon the Great is fallen, it's become a habitation of devils, hold every false spirit, cage of every unclean and hateful bird. And here it's related to the false teachings related to, especially to the biggest deception ever, which is the teaching of the immortality of the soul, which is actually the first ceremony of the devil from the beginning. You're not going to die. Continue sinning, you're not going to die. You will be saved. You are like God. And this kind of teachings, as well as the Catholic Church, as also the Protestant churches are taking and continue preaching. And that is what we see here in these 3 Bible verses, very well described. But we are going to see also furthermore in the lesson certain other details related to the teachings of Babylon and how this persecution is going to take place. Now, the other questions, or the second questions, is at the end of time, what will be the main point of the controversy? Is after this introduction in the first question, Raquel, what do you think? What will be the main point of controversy?
According to the Bible text mentioned here, we see that the expressive will of God in His law, in His commandments, and the entire inspiration that God have transferred to us through the Holy Scriptures will be in question. Not only in question, but even rejected completely. If we consider that the religious powers, spiritualism, Protestantism, and also the apostate Christianity is connected with the merchants, with the business, with the kings, with the governments and the civil powers, and with all the people of earth, so with the general population, we see here how is distributing these evil teachings, this wrong understanding about God, and is also pushing that the true message, the 10 Commandments inspired by God, written by His own hand and pronounced by His own mouth, will be put aside and take the power of it in these 3 levels: in the business area, in the governmental area, and also in the general population of the world. So we see here that these 3 elements of conquering are the main goal of these 3 main wrong understanding of the truth. And when these come near and near to this universality of the spreading of the confusion and the lie and the great deceit, that the law of God is not more valuable, no more to be considered, this is the main point. But in the focus of this controversy is the 4th commandment, the Sabbath day, that explained to humanity that the real day for worship, the real day to be in front of God, and the veneration and adoration that we humans own to God need to be on this day. But businesses, civil powers, and the general number of humanity connected with these 3 main religious powers, spiritualism, Protestantism, and apostate Christianity, will be connected.
Thank you very much. It's very important. We have here the picture, 3 pictures, and that's actually what is the main things which we are going to talk in this lesson. One is the beast coming out of sea, which is the Catholic Church with descendants of the Roman Empire. Then we have the three angels message, three angels that are warning the world about the apostasy and about the terrible consequences of the apostasy. And then we have also the beast coming out of the earth that have also an image, and the image that is giving power from him is the image of the first beast, which is coming out of the sea. And let's continue here. I would like to mention just in question number 2, one sentence. The Sabbath will be the great test of loyalty, for it is the point of the truth especially controverted. When the final test shall be brought to bear upon men, then the line of this distinguish will be drawn between those who serve God and those who serve him not. Only things I want to mention here is that in the end of time we're going to see that many of these the members of the fallen churches, actually the majority of the faithful ones are right now inside the fallen churches and not member in our organization. They will take stand. They will understand that these are questions of liberty of conscience. It is a question, the liberty of religious power, and they will stand in favor of the faithful ones, and they will join also the faithful ones. That's why we need to be very careful respecting other Christians in other denominations, because there are many of the faithful ones. Let's continue with the question number 3. What is the mission of the angel who ascend from east? Now that is another angel. It's not the three angels message, but this is the angels of Revelation chapter 7. This is one of the 4 angels holding the 4 winds, and also giving something very important, having the seal of God. Raquel, what is the seal of God and what is this angel doing? And there are several angels coming one after the other. It's very important that the teachers know exactly which angel is that and how to explain it.
If in question 1 and 2 we were considering the environment that was around the people of God, how these powers, civil and religious powers, come always near and near, we see here at the same time that even when Satan is working with all his power to produce these alliances against the law of God and against that represent this truth, at the same time God is working. So we see here that when we observe the signs of the times and this nearness of civil and religious powers, the nearness between different religious institutions, we know that we are living in a time that Satan is working very active on this earth, but at the same time something else is going on from heaven related with the faithful servants of God. And this is the sealing. It's the period of the sealing time. And even if on earth the tensions, the wars, and the terrible violence is going on, together with all natural catastrophes, we see here that the Lord commanded to the main 4 angels to hold the winds, to control the situation in the nature, in the civil world, in the religious world, until God performed the right investigation and confirmation of every single faithful one that he has on this earth. So, and this is very important to emphasize this parallel, because at the same time we need to be conscious and aware what is going on around this earth. And at the same time we know that even this happen, God is also at work. And this work has to do with you and with me personally. And as teachers of the Sabbath school, we need to emphasize very, very high this element, that if in the world happen this, with us is going also something on. And every one of us is tested. And everyone go through the investigation, judgment, to receive a final sentence.
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting question related to the testimony here. The Israelites place over their doors a signature of blood to show that they were God's property. So the children of God in their age will bear the signature of God hath appointed. This testimony indicates that they will be a visible sign of those who belongs to God. And I would like to clarify that this visible sign is actually the sign of our character and the sign of our obedience to the law of God. This will not be a visible sign of tattoo, of a real seal, of a mark in the forehead. It is not a chip, electronic or whatsoever. That will be too simple and too easy to remove or to get rid of it. And that is not that easy. That what the real seal of God, it's not placed in the hand of man, but it's placed with the hand of the angel or the hand of God. And that is something we need to understand. It's the obedience of the law of God and the keeping of the Sabbath day that plays upon our heart and our character this seal, and not something else, not a formal belonging to organization or a formal belonging to a certain group of people, but there is really depending on our character and obedience and the Spirit of God. We have it or we don't have it. That's what we will decide actually our destiny. Let's continue on question number 4. Are the Protestant churches which abhor Sunday observance aware of the danger they are in? What would you say, Raquel?
Yeah, the answer is absolutely yes. They know. And we can confirm this in any moment. If we have a conversation with a Protestant preacher or with a Catholic priest, and we ask specifically what is their opinion about the day of the real observance and worship of God, they will answer Sunday. And if we began to argue with that and explain that according to the biblical ground, Sabbath is the true day, they will say, yes, I know that this is not a problem, but in the present time, according to our doctrinal structure, we have take the decision to consider Sunday, because, and we know many other reasons why. So what this means? We find here the version of the statement that Jesus pronounced toward the Pharisees, related with the prophecy in Isaiah book. And the main principle is, these people draw nigh unto me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. And even say more, but in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. And this is the main point. So, with purpose, these religious institutions and leaders teach people their own commandments, their own regulations, their own principles of religion, independent of the principles of God. And this is the main blasphemy, and this is the main fornication. So the answer is yes. Catholic Church as an institution and Protestant Church as an institution, they know very well what is going on, and that they consider the Sabbath, even if it's in the Bible, is now Sunday. So that they have the knowledge as leaders, the answer is yes. but we cannot answer yes to every single believer in this Christ, in this circle of a religion, because are many among the Catholics and also Protestants that are convinced that their religious leaders represent the truth and preach and teach to them what is right. Therefore the Lord will provoke a crisis, this controversy that will arise to uphold Sunday will bring a reaction in order to uphold even higher the true day of worship, that is Sabbath. In this moment and in these circumstances, these people that were deceived and wrong teach will have the opportunity to take a decision. Because please don't forget the title of the lesson. The title of the lesson has to do with the liberty of conscience. And the main purpose of all this historical and religious development have the purpose to unify all humanity, all the civil powers and all the business powers in the same belief, with the same they, and with the same purpose in life. And at this moment is when the liberty of conscience is in danger, because will come the empowerment to impose this day, and then the light will be even shiner as never before.
Thank you very much. Actually, this question is very interesting. The Catholic Church does not hide that they are the one that have changed the Sunday or the Sabbath to Sunday, and they also make it sure that this change have not take place based on scripture and biblical scripture, but it's based on the church decision or a church tradition. And they claim the right to have the power to change laws and to do that because God have given them this authority. And this is very obviously, and I can see it's more honest in their expression. In the opposite side, the Protestants, they do not intend to acknowledge that they respect the decision of the Catholic Church. They are trying to justify the Sunday keeping with the scriptures. And there are many intents. The intent goes usually in two directions. One direction is to undo the power of the law of God, stating that we're saved by faith, we're saved by Jesus Christ, not by keeping the law. So because of that, we don't need the law. The law have no any importance, much less the Sabbath day, because, you know, any day you keep, it will be fine. So the one direction of combating the law of God is by undoing the importance of the law of God. And I think there is a certain danger in that direction, because the Seventh-day Adventist Church theology have been widely infected or influenced by this direction of the Protestants' teachings. On the other hand, the Protestants are trying to prove that Sunday is the day of the Lord because of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And they're more jealous in proving that than any Catholic, because the Catholics are happy with saying that we have the right to change laws and everything, and they don't even try to do much more than that. But the Protestants, they feel this this duty and as their own. So you see that these two organizations, or these two beasts, one is the beast coming out of the sea that have changed times and laws, and the image of the beast that is supposed to be Protestant and supposed to reform the teaching of the previous beast. Now it's copying and defending actually this apostasy and this changing of the law of God. Now let's go to question number 5, and this is: what is the responsibility of God's children And I think that is very, very important to all of us. What would you say, Raquel?
Yes, I wanted to clarify something from the past question, because in the note is explained to us that the Protestants are not aware about how far this will be, because I have answered that they know what is the truth, but related with the title. So they don't believe that will come a time that Sunday will be imposed by force and conscience will be oppressed. So because they are not aware how far they are going to go when they connect it and embrace the power of the beast that came out of the sea. So this is the point that needed clarification according to the note.
Yeah, thank you. That's happened actually in Atlanta last year, a big meeting of Protestant church leaders, and Seventh-day Adventist journalist asked one of the leaders what they think about the Sunday law, and the answer was that they believe that will never happen, that this is just an invention of the Seventh-day Adventists, that never the democracy will be broken pieces and never will be changed the Constitution of the United States. And you see that this kind of things looks very difficult for them. And from on the other hand, there are other Protestant ministers and leaders that work very hard to enforce the Sunday law, because they believe that that will bring a big blessing and they will enforce Christianity practically in the whole population. But it's interesting to understand that there is a big mixture among in the Protestant churches, also in the Catholic Church as well, and it's very difficult to put on the same measure all of the members of these denominations. What we can say with certainly is that their leaders or their organizations, they're aware about the things that takes place, but majority of their members, surely they are not aware about the danger that is taking place or what is going to come. And that's why now we come to question number 5. We as people of God, we have a special mission. And what is that?
Exactly, because we know, because the Lord have revealed to his people what is going to come and why is going to come, we have a responsibility. The first one is to be a watchman unto the house of Israel. So first of all, we need to be aware, we need to be conscious, we need to be responsible from the time that we are living in. So we cannot live only to be here, we need to be studying very carefully everything that is going on related with the principles of heaven. But this is not only that. Not only that, we need to have a personal attitude toward the present signs through the knowledge of the truth and the observance of the other events, but we need to warn. We need to communicate. We need to inform about this situation that we know. So first we know, then we understand, then we communicate, we warn other people about what is going on and what is going to come. And two main reactions will arise from this attitude that every one of us have to do or have. This is first, if we warn and we explain, maybe the people will say, oh wow, we didn't know that. Okay, we want to know more. And then the person made a completely full turn in his life because saw things as God saw things. But can be also the opposite reaction, that the person or persons, the general people, don't take care of that and say, no, we are not interested, and they remain as they are. So the results are not our responsibility. The Lord don't give the result to us. What the Lord gives responsibility to us is to know and to warn. And this is our duty. If we don't do that, the persons will perish according to their deeds. But we will be responsible from their death because we knew it and we didn't warn it. And this is a very, very serious moment where we are in. So if we study this lesson, please don't keep it for yourself. It's very important. Whenever you have the opportunity with somebody that say, oh, never happened such a things, never I have here such events, then take the opportunity, catch this moment to communicate what is going on. And do it in a way that will be understood and can be really accepted by the people with the help of the Lord.
Thank you very much, Raquel. I would like to concentrate our attention to the second testimony here, Testimony to the Church, Volume 5. And here is a very important text. We are not doing the will of God if we sit in quiet, doing nothing, not preserve liberty of conscience. It's interesting that according to the word of the prophet, the liberty of conscience have to be preserved. It's not that we are going that just from one day to another there will be no more freedom of conscience. This freedom of conscience will be taken from us gradually, which means that even today there is a danger of to aggressively attack our freedom of conscience. And we see that everywhere. If my daughter goes to school and she wants to dress the way we dress, and she's facing controversy and mobbing, that is a limitation of the freedom of conscience. If everybody have to stand up and put his hand in the heart and sing the hymn greeting the flag, no matter in which country, if that is Mexico, the United States, or any other country, that is against the freedom of conscience. Now, if you permit that the majority of the society dictates your way of doing against your conscience and religious conviction, you are not doing anything to preserve the freedom of conscience. You're just passively letting everything go. You are even adapting yourself to the world in order to avoid any frictions and discrepancy, which means that when the big test for the Sunday law comes, then you will have no power to fight against this kind of tremendous limitation of the freedom of conscience. So we need to be able to preserve the freedom of conscience now in the small things and tests which we are facing, even with the color of my hair, even with the way of I dress, even of the way I speak and preserve my Sabbath day, even if I have to suffer losing of job or less payment or whatever limitation that is given to me, I have to pay the price of the freedom of my conscience if I want to run the biggest test that successfully when that comes, and this is the Sunday law. So, dear brothers and sisters, we need to understand that we have a tremendous responsibility, and the way how we are and the way how we deal with this small proofs that facing us every day, that is the biggest testimony we can give also to the fallen Protestantism and the faithful Catholics that also need this knowledge. They need to see an example of the true Christianity. And it's very important. We are talking about the 100 years of existence and we are trying to find our identity, let's say, in the historical proofs in the past, but we need to have also the existence and presence and our proof of existence in the future based on the prophecies and based on the work we are doing today. So we cannot keep silent, dear brothers and sisters. We have a big responsibility in the front of the world. We need to warn, and we need to preach, and we need to live the truth. With the help of the Lord, we would like to go to question number 6. When the Protestantism joined hand with the papal power? Actually, we have partially discussed that in the previous lesson, but it's good to remind it and get some more detail into it.
We see here, as already the brother mentioned, that this empowering of the Protestant Church is a giving by the beast that came out of the earth. So it's the United States of America that empowered Protestantism, giving life to it, and then this is the first step. But to consider Protestantism as the main religion with the main importance, and to promote this among their own population. But at the same time, this image of the beast that is now with life develop also the skill of the speak, of the verbal capacity. This means that it's not only that the civil power give importance to these specific religions, but at the same time this Protestantism falling and apostatize began to pronounce and to declare and make statements, that is the second level, that confirm the doctrine about the wrong understanding about the day of observance to worship the Lord, related with the Sunday, and also connected with the doctrine of the papal power. And this will be not enough to be alive and to speak, but then will cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So not only that the civil power give the life, and then the Protestant team assume importance that didn't have before, but now also impose, and this is the main connection with the title of the lesson, that the liberty of conscience is in danger, because in the moment that a religious power is connected with a civil power, so church and state is together, that influence the laws of the country, so that a religious principle become a civil law, and this will be imposed by the power and the force of the civil authorities, then the liberty of conscience is already in danger. And this is the element that we need to consider, that the image of the beast is alive, we know that. That began to speak, we know that also through the ecumenical connections, with the diplomatical relationships, with all this gathering between Catholic representatives and Protestants representatives. Now we are only between the second and the third aspect of this process, that from the speak become a law, and will be a law that cannot be discussed. The conscience, the liberty of conscience, mean to have the freedom to decide it, to choose, to use your own willpower as human being to decide it what you believe, what you want to do, for sure without damaging or doing any harm to anybody. Have to do with moral, ethical and religious principles. But in this case, this image of the beast, this fallen Protestantism, will impose by the civil power only one way of thinking, only one way of worship, only one way of faith, and only one way of behaving.
Thank you very much, Raquel. I think it's very important to consider also a portion of the testimony here, and this is the second testimony. Protestant will throw their whole influence and strength on the side of the papacy by the national art enforcement, the false Sabbath. They will give life and vigor to the corrupt faith of Rome, revealing the tyranny and oppression of conscience. It's interesting that according to this testimony, the true character of the fallen Protestantism is not revealed yet. The Protestantism does not oppress now our conscience with such a strength, but that will be the case when the Sunday become a national law, federal law in the United States, and begin to be enforced in the whole world. Actually, not only here. And that's actually happened. Let's say, make a certain comparison with the Nazis' power when that happened in Germany. We see that the majority of the Protestants, they understood that things are not going really well with this government, and a tremendous oppression is taking place over the Jews. But they obey and they supported the government, and that's what is going to happen also in this time. Even those Protestants who have certain feeling and idea that that's not the best and that's not the really right things, but because the government enforced that, because that begin to be official law, then they will support. And not only that, but they will also oppress, and they will be part of this tyranny persecuting the Sabbath keepers. But we need to remember that also when the Nazis' power was, we read in the history a lot of the millions of Jews that died, but there were also other thousands and hundreds of thousands that were not Jew, and they also died because they were not in favor of the government. There were a lot of Protestants that protest, and because of protesting they lost their lives. There were a lot of Catholics that even they were leaders and in the high authorities in the church that protest energically against the tyranny of the government, and some of them also have to sacrifice their life for that. So that is what is going to happen in the last time. A big division and shaking is going to happen inside the Protestant churches and inside the Catholic Church. And the faithful ones, they will leave the church because they will understand that's what is going on now. It's very wrong. It's not on the side of God. But in order to have this power and strength, we as people of God today have to share this information, have to spread that information so people will remember the contact that they have with our church and with the literature, the great controversy, or whatever book they have to read. And they will take the right stand when the time of the Sunday law takes place. But now we come to the seventh questions. What will be the main argument in supporting the Sunday law enforcement? Many people say, maybe not so much in our church, but outside of our church, what is so much the matter of Sunday? Why is that so important? Muslims keeps Friday, Jewish and Adventists keeps Sabbath, and the rest of the world keeps Sunday, and Buddhists and other religions, they don't care. They have any holiday, a specific holiday. So, as you understand, what is the matter of Sunday? What kind of argument will they use, Raquel?
Okay, the Bible text that we find here in Esther 3:8-10 present us the main argumentation. So, the first of all is that is a group a certain people, and this is very important how it's described, it's a certain people, so it's not a big number, so it's a small number of people. This small number of people is scattered and dispersed all over, so are not limited to an area specifically, but they are all around the world, second element, and they have laws that are different from the other nations. So they are small in number, they are spread all over the world, but they have principles, characteristics, attributes that are completely different. Let us see what kind of difference have emphasized here the Bible text. They say, neither keep they the king's law. So they also put in question some civil laws at the same time. And they don't support, they don't are active in the political powers. They are not part of the government. They don't collaborate with the political or religious institution established in very specific countries. It's very important then to put together all these elements. So, first of all, a small number. Second, spread all over. Third, have attributes and characteristics different. They don't compromise with the government. They don't do any even ecumenical relationship with religious powers, and they follow their own principles and don't recognize the general principles, the laws that don't allow them to do what they believe that is right. So if we consider this under the right perspective, we are not very far from that. The point is to avoid differences, to eliminate differences. Intolerance is the principle that follow this behavior, that everybody need to do the same, that everybody need to believe the same and behave and have the same principles. It's no matter if it's good or bad, if it's true or an error. It's only because religious with civil power impose these principles and everybody need to follow. But right now, in this situation, is a certain group of people that say no, because that is not right, because this is not the will of God, and we cannot do that. But the point is that if today we are willing to compromise the truth, if we are willing to put aside some of the elements that make a difference between us as people of God and other people, then we are not identified as the ones that are different. And the point is, are we willing? Are we ready to be different? What is emphasized here is the difference. And the difference have to do with the will of God, the knowing and fulfilling of it.
Thank you very much, Raquel. That is very important. Are we willing to remain faithful and not to accept the influence of the world? By accepting the influence of the world, we disappear as a problem. We disappear. We are not going to suffer any persecution, but we are not going to be part of the people of God as well. It is so simple. Question number 8. What will God's people do under these circumstances? And what will happen in such a difficult situation? Here we have the case of Esther and the Jewish nation as an example, but we can give also some other examples during the history of our denomination.
Yes, I will focus in these two statements, biblical statements that we have here, because it's very important what we have to do. What will do everybody that want to be faithful to God, even if we are not yet in this extreme crisis. So the first thing is to pray and to fast in order to have the right spiritual preparation. This means that we need to work in our spiritual experience. This means that we need to increase our relationship with God. We need to be in a higher level of intimacy with the truth and with the principles of heaven. But at the same time, we need to react, and we need to confront, and we need to explain, and we need to stand up for that what is right. And this process is very important. If we are not convinced, we will not have the power and the attitude to clarify and to remain faithful. Therefore, we find first that fasting and praying will empower us with the Holy Spirit to be in connection with God and to perform through His power a great work of information, of spreading the truth, and inform the people about what is going on, that the truth is suppressed, that the conscience is oppressed, and that is against human rights. Because until now we heard many things about that, but now we have to do with divine rights among His own people to live according to the truth.
Thank you very much. What the people are doing, here the testimony of the prophet and kings, it's very clear. It says here, the same spirit that in ages past led men to persecute the true church will in the time future lead to the persecute of similar course toward those who maintain their loyalties with God. We need to maintain our loyalty, our faithfulness with God. Dear brothers and sisters, I don't think we need to fear about these days, and even these days have to be expected. These days have to be desired, because when that comes, we know that the coming of Christ is near, that our liberation is near, and we have nothing to fear, because we know that the Lord is with the faithful ones, and the Lord is with those who belongs to Him, those who obey Him, and those who are converted and have His Spirit. And if we are with Christ, who will be against us? As we say in Romans chapter 8, nothing can separate the people of God from His love, from His attention, and from His help. May the Lord bless you, dear brothers and sisters. Have a good Sabbath, blessed Sabbath day, and don't forget to share our webpage, the webpage of the ministerial department, or the Facebook where I publish also our lessons. The Lord bless you and give you a blessed Sabbath day. Enjoy the study. Amen.
Amen.